Imagine you are handed the keys to a Formula One race car. Like you're driving it every single day, just pushing it to its absolute limits on the track.
Okay, yeah, that's an intense image.
Right. But for some reason, you are trying to maintain this $1 million machine using the owner's manual for a 2008 Honda Civic.
Oh, that is a total recipe for disaster.
Exactly. You're pouring in the wrong oil, you're, I don't know, misreading the tire pressure, and you're just completely ignoring the suspension. Because, hey, that's how you treated your Civic, right? And it ran just fine.
Yeah, and that dangerous mismatch is exactly what it's like to apply standard run-of-the-mill health advice to a highly specialized athlete like a Whippet.
Which is exactly why we are pulling apart this topic today. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. For this one, we are digging into an incredibly detailed masterclass transcript on adult preventive care, specifically tailored for Whippets.
It is a fascinating set of sources for sure.
It really is. But here's the secret for you listening. Even if you never plan on owning a sighthound, the underlying philosophy we are exploring today is it's going to completely change how you view health and prevention in general.
Absolutely. Because we have this tendency to treat all canine health as just this one big monolith.
Yeah, totally. And the goal here is to extract a sort of masterclass in the art of observation. We're looking at how to turn mundane daily routines into a stress-free system for protecting an animal's well-being without just drowning in information. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because usually, when we think about health, it feels very reactionary.
Yeah.
We wait for a crisis, we wait for the check engine light to come on, and then we panic.
Exactly. We treat health like this series of dramatic, expensive interventions. But the paradigm shift in these sources is moving away from constant intervention and really embracing consistent observation.
Consistent observation, I like.
Right, because prevention isn't a frantic trip to the emergency room. Prevention happens quietly, just in the background of a totally normal day. Picture this. The dog wakes up under a warm blanket, eats a carefully measured breakfast, takes a casual stroll, maybe does a few minutes of intense, explosive sprinting in a safe field, gets a quick physical check, and then goes right back under the blanket.
Sounds like a pretty great life, honestly.
It is. No drama, no alarms, but absolute hypervigilant prevention was happening during every single second of that routine.
Which brings us to this concept from the text of The Inventable Shield, this idea of knowing normal. It goes right back to the car engine.
It really does.
Like, you don't need a degree in mechanical engineering to know how your own car sounds. You drive it to work every day. You know the exact pitch of the everyday hum.
Yeah, the baseline.
Right, the baseline.
Yep.
And you only know there's a problem when that familiar, steady hum suddenly turns into a rhythmic clicking sound.
That's it, exactly. Establishing a baseline is the fundamental tool that makes this entire preventative system possible. You simply cannot recognize a meaningful early-stage change in health if you've never taken the time to learn what normal looks, feels, and sounds like for this specific animal.
But this breed has a very unique engine. Is knowing normal for a Whippet fundamentally different from knowing normal for a golden retriever?
Oh, completely.
Because, if they're built for 35-mile-per-hour sprints, my guess is that their baseline involves just, bouncing off the walls with energy all day.
And that is exactly where the standard Honda Civic manual fails you. What's fascinating here is that their baseline behavior includes things that would genuinely terrify an owner of a different breed.
Wait, really? Like what?
Well, normal for them actually involves intense, prolonged indoor stillness.
Stillness?
Yeah, they are sprinters, not endurance marathoners, so they conserve energy. Sleeping deeply under blankets, that intense warmth-seeking cat-like behavior, that is their baseline. It is not a warning sign of lethargy or depression.
Oh, wow. Okay, so if a Jack Russell Terrier was that completely motionless under a blanket all afternoon,
Yeah,
you'd be
right.
racing to the emergency vet.
Yeah.
Because the baseline for a terrier is constant motion.
Precisely. You have to learn their specific language. You need to know their normal sprinting style because their gait is incredibly distinctive. It's this double suspension gallop.
Right.
And you have to observe their normal recovery. Like, what does it actually look like when they finish a dead sprint? How many minutes does it take for that heavy, rapid chest heaving to settle back down into a calm, steady rhythm? How do they walk after resting for 10 minutes?
Honestly, it sounds incredibly demanding. Tracking respiration rates and gait mechanics. It feels like you'd need a clipboard and a stopwatch just to take your dog to the park.
Well, I know it sounds intimidating, but the beauty of this approach is that it shouldn't feel like a medical exam. You aren't sitting there with flashcards.
Right, you're just watching.
Exactly. This invisible shield of knowledge builds up organically. Just by paying a little bit of intentional attention to your dog's daily rhythms, you are calibrating your brain to their specific engine.
All right, so if their indoor baseline is this quiet, almost comatose stillness, how do you even know if they're physically fit? Like, we're monitoring the unique engine, but we have to look closely at the physical chassis.
Yeah, the chassis is a great way to put it.
They're built for speed.
Yeah.
How does that change how we measure their body condition?
It changes everything. We have to completely discard the mental image of a regular dog. Whippets are naturally structurally lean. Comparing them to stockier breeds is a very dangerous trap.
So they should look skinny.
Well, a healthy Whippet should look like a highly conditioned track athlete. They should have visible muscle definition. They shouldn't look like they are accidentally skinny or, malnourished.
Okay, I have to push back on this, though. Wait, if this dog already has basically zero body fat and looks incredibly skinny to begin with, how on earth do you spot weight or muscle loss before it's a crisis?
That is the big question.
It feels like the margin of error is zero. Like if I just look at them, I can't tell the difference between healthy lean and sick lean.
That is an excellent observation, and it highlights the exact trap that catches so many people off guard. Because they are naturally slender, an overweight Whippet can still look slimmer than a healthy Labrador.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Right. And conversely, severe muscle loss can hide incredibly easily under their lean frame, especially in the hindquarters. You nailed it. Visual checks fail. You cannot just look at this dog and know its body condition.
So what's the alternative? Are we weighing them every single day?
Weight is part of it for sure, but the primary tool is hands-on assessment. You have to physically get your hands on the dog's chassis. You are checking the ribs, the waist, the spine, and the hips.
Okay.
You're actually feeling the muscle tone along the back and the thighs.
Like reading Braille. What am I actually feeling for? If I run my hand down their rib cage, should it feel like sharp edges?
No, definitely not sharp. The ideal analogy used in the text is that the ribs should feel like pencils in a velvet pouch.
Pencils in a velvet pouch. That's a very specific image.
It is, but it works perfectly. You can feel the individual ridges clearly without pressing hard, but there is a smooth layer of skin and light tissue over them. They shouldn't feel like jagged knives, and they definitely shouldn't be buried under a sponge of fat.
Right.
And the best way to build this tactile confidence is to actually do this hands-on assessment alongside your veterinarian. Have them guide your hands so you know exactly what healthy, dense muscle feels like.
I imagine the fuel intake, the nutrition, has to be incredibly dynamic to maintain that razor-thin balance.
Highly dynamic. You aren't just following the chart in the back of a kibble bag. The feeding schedule has to constantly adjust to match what your hands are telling you about their muscle condition.
So it changes day to day.
It changes with their activity level. It
Right.
even changes with the seasons because weather drastically shifts how much energy they burn just staying warm. And yeah, even those little high-value treats you use for recall training, those have to be calculated into the daily caloric picture.
Which perfectly transitions us to what happens when we take this highly tuned, perfectly fueled chassis outside into the real world. Because this biological machine is designed for outdoor sprinting, but it is incredibly vulnerable to its environment.
Very vulnerable.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. There's this concept of the post-run inspection. It reminded me instantly of checking your specialized gear after a heavy rock climbing session.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Right. Like you finish the climb and immediately you are checking the carabiners for microfractures, inspecting the ropes for fraying. It's not a frantic, anxious process. It's just a non-negotiable habit.
Just a habit is the perfect mindset. For a Whippet, the run is not finished until the body has been thoroughly checked. Period.
So what's on the gear checklist? I assume they're looking for an obvious limp, but what else?
You have to look at the micro level. Because of their incredibly low body fat and single layer, very short coat, their skin is essentially paper thin compared to other dogs.
Paper thin. Got it.
So it is highly vulnerable to tears, scrapes, and punctures from branches or thorns that, say, a golden retriever would just brush right through. So you are inspecting the skin, you are meticulously checking the paws, the pads, the nails, the toes, the legs.
Wait, the toes specifically. Why are the toes more vulnerable?
Think about the physics involved. When a dog is cornering at 30 miles per hour and sharply changes direction to chase a lure or a squirrel, The amount of torque and sheer physical force placed on those tiny toe joints is astronomical.
Oh, man. I never thought about the torque.
Yeah, a slight twist can cause a ligament injury that you might completely miss if you aren't actively looking for swelling or stiffness.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
The physics of speed create completely different vulnerabilities.
Exactly. And the speed is also why you must check the eyes after every single run.
Just from running in an open field.
They are moving at high speeds, often through tall glass or brush, tracking a target with intense focus. They won't blink or turn their head away from a low-hanging branch if they are locked onto something.
Because their prey drive just overrides everything else.
Precisely. So the risk of a corneal scratch or debris getting lodged in the eye is huge. So you are looking for redness, excessive blinking, squinting, or discharge.
Okay, I have to ask about the environmental armor. Specifically the weather aspect, because if you spend 5 minutes online, you see endless photos of Whippets in these elaborate custom-knit sweaters and fleece coats.
Oh, yes, the Whippet wardrobe.
Is putting a sweater on a dog just a cute Instagram trend, or is it actual medical prevention for this breed?
It is absolutely medical prevention. It is not pampering. It is respecting the physiological reality of the body that dog lives in.
Respecting the body it lives in. I love that framing.
It fundamentally changes how you view canine clothing. With their low body fat and short coat, they have zero natural insulation. None. If you take them out in freezing temperatures naked, they aren't just uncomfortable. They're burning massive amounts of calories just trying to shiver and survive.
Wow.
They require coats in cold weather. If they are cold, their behavior shifts. They will refuse to walk, their muscles will tense up, making them way more prone to injury, and they literally won't be able to settle down indoors.
And the heat must be just as dangerous, if not more so.
It is arguably more dangerous. Sprinting hard in the heat can induce hyperthermia incredibly fast. Their drive to chase will often override their instinct to cool down.
So you have to be the adult in the ring.
Yes. It requires active, human-led prevention. Forcing them to rest in the shade, bringing plenty of water, strictly avoiding hot pavement that will tear up those crucial paw pads, and exercising them only during the coolest hours of the dawn or dusk.
All right, so we've protected the exterior, we've guarded the chassis against thorns and torque, and we've armored it against the weather. But what about the internal systems? You know, the hidden engine that keeps this whole thing running.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the internal engine requires just as much vigilance. You are monitoring the heart, the lungs, their overall stamina. You're watching for any sudden coughing, a sudden drop in exercise tolerance, or a heart rate that stays elevated way too long after a run.
Right.
But there's one internal system that the text elevates as surprisingly critical, and it's something that gets completely ignored in most adult dogs.
Dental care.
Yes. Dental care. For this breed, dental hygiene is not a separate cosmetic issue. It is a massive pillar of their overall quality of life. Regular veterinary dental exams and actual physical toothbrushing at home are completely non-negotiable.
Can we pause on this? Because I think this is a huge blind spot for most people. There's this pervasive myth that as long as you feed a dog dry kibble, the crunching action essentially cleans their teeth for you.
It is one of the most stubborn myths in pet care. Dry food alone absolutely does not clean teeth. Think about it. Eating a pretzel doesn't clean your teeth, right? It leaves carbohydrate residue right at the gum line.
That is a great point. But I want to dig into the why here. We all joke about dog breath. It's a punchline in cartoons. But why is it flagged in these sources as a major quality of life issue?
Yeah.
It's just teeth, right? It's not the heart or the spine.
Because it's never just the teeth. If we go back to your engine analogy, a rotting tooth isn't a cosmetic scratch on the paint job. It's a cracked spark plug that ruins the performance of the entire engine.
Oh, wow.
Bad breath is not just dog breath. It is a glaring symptom of active, progressing dental disease. And dental disease quietly causes immense chronic pain.
Chronic pain.
Yes. The plaque turns to tartar, which drives bacteria under the gum line, creating systemic inflammation and severe pain. And that pain doesn't just stay in the mouth, it ripples outward. Well, it ruins their appetite, obviously, because crunching food sends shooting pain into their jaw. But it also spikes their cortisol levels, it makes them irritable, it affects their receptiveness to training, it even disrupts their sleep cycle, because a throbbing toothache doesn't stop just because they close their eyes.
That is wild to think about. So a dog that suddenly seems grumpy, or is suddenly blowing off your commands during training, or is tossing and turning at night, might just have a massive toothache that we can't see.
Precisely. Which leads us perfectly into one of the most profound realizations of this entire approach. Because dogs cannot verbally tell us, hey, my back molar is killing me, or my hip joints are aching from the damp cold, we have to rely on their behavior as the ultimate diagnostic tool.
Behavior is a vital sign.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that framework
Sure.
because it completely changes how you view a naughty or stubborn dog.
It shifts you from judgment to observation. There are several behavioral shifts you need to track. For instance, if their recall reliability suddenly drops, like if they usually come when called, but suddenly they are ignoring you, or a massive spike in their prey drive triggers, where they are suddenly lunging at things they used to calmly watch. Unusual clinginess, new fearfulness, or, here's a big one, suddenly hating a walking harness that they have worn comfortably for 3 years.
So when a dog suddenly ducks away when you hold up the harness,
Yeah.
it's not just them being difficult.
No, not at all. That shift is a vital sign. If a dog suddenly hates a harness, it often means the harness is putting pressure on an inflamed shoulder joint, or they're guarding a painful area on their back.
Wow.
These behavioral changes aren't just acting out, they are loud indicators pointing towards stress, pain, being too cold, or the early stages of an illness or injury. Furthermore, managing their behavior is quite literally a form of injury prevention.
How does managing behavior prevent injury? You mean like keeping them on a leash?
It's deeper than just the leash, it's about impulse control. Good leash skills prevent them from lunging and dislocating a toe. Maintaining strict rules at doors and gates prevents them from bolting into traffic.
Right.
Learning to watch their body language. Noticing that split-second hard stare and muscle tensing right before they launch into a chase, that behavioral management protects the dog from a catastrophic accident just as effectively as a vaccine protects them from a virus.
So what does this all mean? If we zoom out, we are supposed to track their breathing rate, their muscle tone, their response to cold, their reaction to the harness, the smell of their breath, their gait after a sprint. Tracking all of this physical and mental data over years is literally impossible to do in our heads.
It really is.
It's like trying to remember your exact resting heart rate from a random Tuesday 6 months ago without a smartwatch. It's just not going to happen.
You're completely right. Human memory is notoriously faulty, which is why written records are the ultimate solution here. The text specifically mentions using the Vital Pet app, but whether you use an app on your phone, a spreadsheet, or just a notebook by the door, the medium doesn't matter. The habit is what matters. There is a brilliant saying, memory remembers the dramatic moments, but records reveal the patterns.
Oh, that is incredibly true. We only remember the single dramatic day they limped really badly. We completely forget the subtle, slight hesitation they had every Thursday after a long run for the past 3 months.
Exactly. A single odd day rarely tells you much. But weight that slowly drops over 6 months, dental notes tracked over years, appetite dips that consistently cluster around the peak heat of summer, those patterns are totally invisible if you rely on your brain.
Yeah.
And when you finally sit down with your vet, you aren't guessing. You aren't trying to reconstruct half a year from a faulty memory. You just hand them the data.
But there has to be a line, right? There must be moments where we stop calmly observing the data and start taking immediate action.
Absolutely. The goal is a consistent observation, but you still need to know the red flags. These are the moments where observation ends and intervention begins.
What are we looking for?
Things like deep wounds, skin tears, or bleeding that won't stop, persistent stiffness, or an absolute inability to bear weight on a leg, any cloudiness, redness, or injury to the eye, collapse, fainting, severe lethargy, or sudden dramatic weight or muscle loss.
Okay, those are definitely vet emergencies.
And connecting back to the dental engine, bad breath that is suddenly paired with them dropping food or chewing awkwardly on one side of their mouth.
But even with that list of scary symptoms, the goal of this entire deep dive isn't to live in a state of paranoia, just waiting for a disaster.
Not at all. That list of red flags is meant to sit quietly in the very back of your mind. It is not a source of anxiety. It is simply a kind of fluency in your own dog's biology.
Fluency in your own dog. I think that encapsulates the mission perfectly. So, to wrap up the core lesson we've unpacked today, maintaining this high-performance chassis requires consistent observation, not constant anxiety. We are looking at a system of tiny micro-habits. Feeling their ribs like pencils in velvet, checking their paws for torque injuries after a run, smelling their breath, noting their mood at the door. That all weaves seamlessly into a normal, stress-free day.
And there's a beautiful, lingering realization from the end of the source text that emerges when you practice this level of care.
What's that?
All these daily routines, maintaining that lean muscle, brushing the teeth to prevent systemic inflammation, actively managing their weight, and building a deep bond of trust through gentle, predictable, hands-on handling. They aren't just for the athletic dog you have right in front of you today.
Wait, what do you mean?
The routines that protect the explosive adult sprinter today are literally building the physical and mental foundation for the fragile senior companion that dog will eventually become.
Oh, wow.
A joint health you maintain now doesn't hit a reset button when they turn 10, it carries forward. By managing their weight and their teeth today, you are actively banking health, mobility, and comfort for their twilight years.
That is a phenomenal way to look at it.
Yeah.
It takes the chore out of the routine. It makes every single walk, every caloric calculation, and every single post-run gear check feel incredibly meaningful.
It really does.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you, our listener, with today. Stepping just outside the realm of canine care for a second. If practicing this hyper-focused, non-judgmental, consistent observation helps a dog owner catch the tiniest microscopic shifts in an animal's health before they snowball into a full-blown crisis. Imagine what would happen if we applied that exact same baseline tracking to ourselves. In a fast-paced world of endless information overload, where we so often treat our own bodies like machines that just need a quick caffeine fix or an emergency intervention, when our own internal check engine light starts flashing, do you even know what your own normal looks, sounds, and feels like? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.